Welcome back to season 5 of Seen and Heard podcast, where everyone should be seen and heard. I'm your host, Sharon, and welcome tonight with my co host, Vanessa. Welcome to Seen and Heard podcast.
Thank you for having me, Sharon.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, welcome back. Hello, Vanessa. Introduce yourself.
Hello. So, my name is Vanessa, and I also go by Change the System on most social media platforms. I'm also a data analyst for my 9-to-5 profession. And on social media, I talk about social justice issues, politics, anything that's involving the United States and this Trump regime. And that is how I met you, Sharon. We are mutuals on TikTok.
Yes, thanks. Well, I'm kind of on the fence because I said I was going to delete, which I still am downloading all of my videos. And so I can pull the kill switch, whenever because they're still kind of pushing the envelope of what they're adding and what I don't, they're suppressing a lot of my messages and stuff. So, which I'm one of the least problematic people on But sometimes I put like snarky comments in under people's videos, and I'll get like like as soon as I post a comment, it'll be disappear. It's
Yeah.
and I didn't say anything. I wasn't cursing or anything. But yeah, they're being internet bullies,
Yeah.
and
This so sensitive.
I am grateful the Buddhist made it back to Texas. They had a long strenuous
Nice.
trek. They marched to Washington. I got to follow them all the way through the process from when they started. And they had some little bumps here and there, but I mean, they just managed to be monks and be inspirational to me, especially with everything that's going on. I did post one little short about them when they got to Washington and they did a speech there. So if y'all want to check it out on my YouTube page, it's inspirational. So, if you're having a hard time, just go check out the video. So we're going to talk about a lot of things within 30 minutes, hopefully. The video that we were just talking about with what was her, the blonde box lady?
Megyn Kelly.
Maggie Kelly. So we are going to watch this video clip, and then we're going to come back on the other side and give our response and commentary.
Yo, I just saw this yesterday.
Football, that kind of football, is ours. They call it American football. And the halftime show and everything around it needs to stay quintessentially American. Not Spanish, not Muslim, not anything other than good old-fashioned American apple pie.
And I have thoughts, Miss Kelly. You said that kind of football is ours. Sure, but American football stems from English rugby and wasn't normalized until the 1880s. It's a religion here, but the foundation is British. You said the halftime show needs to stay quintessentially American. Well, Puerto Rico became part of the U.S. in 1898. As I mentioned in my last video, Puerto Ricans became citizens in 1917, so American football from British rugby and Puerto Ricans becoming U.S. citizens happened within a few decades of each other. Also, Bad Bunny is a U.S. citizen. You said good old-fashioned American pie. Well, apples originate from modern-day Kazakhstan. And apple pie, that recipe came from Dutch settlers, the same ones who found in New Amsterdam, which today it's known as New York City. Meatloaf, brought to you by German and Italian immigrants in the late 1800s. Fried chicken, introduced by Scottish immigrants who fried chicken in lard. and enslaved black cooks, mostly from West Africa, who helped create and cement it as we know it today. Every food you name is a third culture outcome of immigration and forced labor. Miss Kelly, hot dogs are from Jewish immigrants, hamburgers from German immigrants. This country put Japanese Americans in internment camps, but now loves sushi. The Chinese Exclusion Act wasn't lifted until 1943, but today every small town has a Chinese restaurant. Because America doesn't create culture from scratch. Every tradition we call American started somewhere else, landed here, and became something new. That's what makes this country great. And everything you're calling un-American right now, give it 50 years, you mention Muslims for no reason. But have you tried halal card chicken and rice? It's already a classic New York dish. Reggaeton and K-pop will be oldies. What's foreign today becomes quintessentially American tomorrow. But in the meantime, I'd like to ask you to hang out. Let's chill in Queens. Grab Egyptian-style seafood at Hamido in Astoria, Columbia Chilado in Jackson Heights. We'll then hit up a Korean spa in Flushing. You know what I mean? Holla at me, all right? Peace and blessings.
Okay, we're back. What are your thoughts on that, Megan Kelly?
Well, I think he nailed it completely. I mean, Megyn Kelly has been dulling, hot take after hot take. She just needs to put on that, that hefty bag and just leave it on. When we called MAGA supporters trash, or I think Biden called them trash, and they all started putting on garbage bags, and she was modeling it. Girl, just keep it on. Don't take it off. She had 2 weeks ago, Super Bowl. We had to keep it quintessentially American. But yet, when she's giving examples of what is quintessentially American, she's like struggling. She's like grasping at straws, like she's just throwing out stupid things. And then when you start researching it, none of that originated here. So she's just such an idiot. Nothing she says makes sense. All she wanted to say, but she couldn't say it, was we need to keep it white. That was it.
Yep. One of the most horrifying things I saw last week was Pam. I watched a little bit of that hearing that they had with the survivors. Well, I say survivors. I'm not going to call them victims,
Yes.
but the survivors at the hearing. She reacted. Do you guys, I don't know if y'all saw this movie years ago with Christian Bale called American Psycho. You know his character in that movie, American Psycho?
Oh,
Okay, here. Okay, the rich white, doesn't care. She reminded me of a female version of that character in American Psycho.
If you've seen that movie Gone Girl, it's very similar.
I haven't seen that one.
That's with Ben Affleck. She discovers that he was cheating on her or something. So she goes through this whole elaborate plan that he murdered her, and she fakes her own death. Like, she spent months plotting this, and, just came home with white woman tears. And it's a really good movie. It's really, it talks about how she weaponized that. And you know what I saw right before I came home was somebody had posted a clip with a meme that showed Pam Bondi, Caroline Levitt, Tulsi Gabbard, and somebody else, and then it had also Ghislaine Maxwell in there, and it said, these men are sacrificing these women. These women are doing all the dirty work for these men, and they are going to be the sacrifice. Because if you think about it, Virginia Giuffre named 40 men alone, and only person who's been held accountable is Ghislaine Maxwell. None of the men have been put into prison. And so when the chips fall, Pam Bondi is going to be thrown under the bus. Tulsi Gabbard is going to be thrown under the bus. Caroline Levitt. And so they're all going to be fodder. But they think that they are being soldiers, and they are going to be rewarded with loyalty. And that ain't going to happen.
He's not loyal to anybody. And early on, like in 2015, well, I don't know if she was talking then, his niece. Yes, she was. She was trying to warn. She, along with millions of other people, were trying to warn everybody. In 2015, nobody would listen. And
including me.
now
I never
we have
but
to
I
deal.
ignored her.
Uh, well, and I listened to some of what she had to say, but I was not on the trusting part, which I really don't trust really a lot of people because they helped to get us to this situation. I was really disappointed with
Exactly.
even Rachel Maddow, Chris, what's his name on MSNBC? The Chris guy with the glasses. He annoys me so bad because he reminds me of a frat guy, like this
Yeah.
little frat guy that thinks he's cool because he's at the table with the cool kids. But like the debacle with Joyanne Reed, I just was hoping that they would all stand up and walk out. But then I did not realize I was at fault for that too because you're trying to hold on to some semblance of trust in the media. But I was holding on to that, thinking if they all walk out, that would send a message to these executives in the C suites. None of them did that. I lost respect for her. I lost respect for all of them, all of the white hosts on those channels because all the black hosts were being let go, and they were, you know, she she
Yep.
kind of made a half-ass kind of like, oh, I'm gonna miss my friend Joy and this and that. No, walk out, get up and walk out. Make a scene and make a point. But they didn't do that.
Nope.
So it just, NPR, that was, well, they started losing it in 2015. Like they were raising fundraising like they do the yearly fundraising. And I noticed it was abrupt. Their coverage was kind of aggressive, but it wasn't harsh, and it's truth. And then after fundraising, when I saw in the news, this was during his first reign of terror, and he was talking about taking the funding away from public radio. Then they softened up, really softened up. Then it was just, you know, fluff after fluff after fluff. I was like, what is going on with NPR? I grew up with NPR, but they didn't fight either.
Right. Yeah, they
I
limit their
actually saw a meme
typically.
earlier. Somebody said that the Cartoon Network and PBS only two networks that weren't in the Epstein files or weren't associated with the Epstein files.
It makes sense.
What are your thoughts on that? On what's come out so far, especially with this last batch?
It's better to pick out people who aren't in there. And the last news that I just saw was that they saw emails in the Epstein files that said from in between FBI that there was approximately like 15 terabytes of data. And we have only received 300 gigabytes, which is approximately 2% of all of the files. So what behind? It's like why? And also on top of that, like this has been a cover. I believe this is a cover up from administration to administration to administration. And I don't trying to not expose Bill and Hillary Clinton being in there. I don't know why none of our Democrat leaders, when they were made aware of what was in there, didn't start talking. The only thing I can assume is that every administration has been using stuff from the Epstein files as leverage with other countries. I think they have all been doing it. What do
I'm
you
really
think?
hoping that one of the other countries will leak the files that are unredacted because I mean they have the same copies that we have, right? I'm really hoping some brave country, but then again, they may keep it so they can have leverage. Now,
Right.
now they can use it as leverage.
Yeah. And it's just really scary and involved. amount of powerful people, the amount of girls. I don't know if you saw that video from Dr. Leslie where she's decoded parts of one of the girls' journals because they
Mm.
just wrote in code in the journal, and she was able to decode it because they were really just writing up and down versus right. Girl talked about giving birth easy. And 6 months later, she was pregnant again. And she doesn't know what they were doing with the babies. Like,
Well, she was a baby too, right?
and then I wonder, like, when we see it all, like, what is this going to be?
And to think that, well, I'm glad to see the other countries taking accountability and they're the people that are resigning and they're firing people, and doing their own investigations. But it, the only way we could make a point here is to shut the country down. Just like with COVID during the lockdown, everybody stayed home because we had no choice because we didn't know what was going on, right? So everybody stayed home. The only reason they opened up the country was because these corporations started screaming, nobody's buying our overpriced stuff. You know, that was the only reason they opened up this country because they saw how that's the effect that we need to have on this country.
All about
Clear,
money.
yeah, that was it. It was all about money. And we need to have another COVID reaction. The country has COVID.
I've heard multiple times, I was like, if we stay home collectively, if we home as the country for 30 days, win, right? We keep enough supplies, just our basic necessities, and that's it. For 30 days, what would that do to this country? Yeah, everything would collapse. And that would be enough. And that would be a non-violent form of resistance. Because what are they going to do? Send the cops to all of our homes to
That
bring us into
part.
work? They don't have that power. They don't. We have the power. We just don't know it. And we don't know how to collectively organize and utilize it in a way that effectuates actual meaningful change. And it's all about the money. You fuck with the money, that's when everything stops.
That's the
All that makes
only
this big
thing that's
money.
gonna make
All that,
this stop. And everybody
and
keeps
that's
saying,
the
I
people
don't
that are
know what
just
to do.
ignoring.
Mhm. There are people that are like, "Oh, I'm scared to go out,"
And
you're
everybody that
scared.
just keeps ignoring. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, 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 you're pretty much saying the same thing. It's like people that keep saying, "I don't know what to do. What can we do?" This is what we can do. And you're suggesting 30 days. My parents were part of the Montgomery bus boycotts that lasted over a year.
Mhm. We have a placard downtown Cola where there used to be a Woolworths. It was lunch counters that were held there. And I want to say it went on for a little over 100 days. So, the amount of people that are not working, I'm like, look at the civil rights movement. That was protest after protest, year after year. These things are going to have to take time. But again, it's if we like, we're all like not shopping at Target. What if we all I mean, I remember back in the 80s when the unions went on strike at the casinos. They were standing front of the doors in the casinos. You did not cross the customers would not walk in. Why are we not doing that? Why are we not, sitting with picket lines and signs in front of, Target? We all have collectively pretty much stopped shopping at Target. Why don't we do that 1 month, like focus on one corporation, go through the list of donors and Donald Trump, the ones that are continuously pushing for this regime change, like focus on one company this month,
And as for community, to get through something like that, a boycott like that, there are people, that have Costco memberships. So say if you talk to a person that has a Costco membership, everybody pitch in to get the bulk toilet paper, to get the paper towels, to get the eggs in bulk or the cleaning supplies in bulk. And then, give it out to the community. I got a Costco membership. Say, hey, I need some toilet paper. We split it or get 3 people to split the cost to get it. So we all have toilet paper. We'll all have
right?
washing soap. We'll all have, $5 chickens rotisserie chickens if you want to eat it. But I mean, that way, that could get us through like a community.
Absolutely. I mean, we have to look at people did survive during things like the Great Depression, during slavery. There was, underground railroads. There were things that happened organically where people just said, okay, and now I've got to figure out what to do. Let's get together and make things happen. And that's exactly what happened in Minnesota. The only reason they're leaving out of Minnesota is because the community organized student solidarity and they are pushing them out. From what I've been hearing from groups like Indivisible and stuff like that, is that they were able to put together a really good network of resistance very quickly, where they were organizing, okay, let's get a network together to bring food to people so they can't leave the house. Another group is going to take turns, surveilling the neighborhoods and warning and keeping tabs on each other, I think with the Nextdoor app. So they had a really good system set up. And I think everybody needs to focus on what Minnesota did. We need to replicate that so that we can be prepared and ready in every community across the country so that we can stand in solidarity against that.
Corporations got in touch with it and they're like, you got to do something because nobody's coming in to shop. That's all I care about.
Because it doesn't matter how many people die, right? If they cared about people dying, we wouldn't have any more mass shootings in school. I mean, fuck, we can't save children in this goddamn country. We cannot come together as a country and stop mass shootings with very simple legislation. All they care about is money. And unfortunately, the more I realize it, I hate to even say that, the vast majority of people that have their head in the clouds and just going about their business, that's all they're thinking about is the money. When you are living in a situation where you've got to think about, what am I going to do for my daughter? How am I going to get, the medication she needs? You can't think outside of your bubble if you're only thinking about yourself. People are dying right here and now. I don't have it in me to give out to other people if I'm trying to save my own life here in this country and save my neighbors' lives. And I'm worrying about my daughter. Like, of course I care about what happens in Gaza, but I have to survive here first, right?
Hmm. And they didn't listen to the people in Gaza that were even saying, please do not vote for that man.
Yep.
The people in Gaza were saying that, please don't vote for that man.
Because at the end of
Now
the
we're
day, they
all in
didn't
a
care
mess.
about the Palestinians. They used them as a pawn for their cause. They're accelerationists. They don't want to do any work in democracy. Hard, and it takes a long time, and it's heartbreaking work. You're not going to get a win every fucking time, but this is the system we have. What they want is to burn it all down, and magically something is going to come out of it. Let me tell you something, leftists. Not always out of a revolution comes something better. There might something worse come out of it. And in the meantime, all of the marginalized communities that you guys claim to support and endorse, they're the first ones that are going to go. And
Yeah.
I know that they're being attacked right now. Like that's what leftists are probably screaming in the screen right now. Marginalized communities are being attacked right now. But do you think that's going to be any better if there's a collapse in a revolution? Think they're going to die in that? Iran is having a revolution right now. 40 people have died so far. 40,000. And that's just rough estimates. I think they're using ICE more as their own personal Secret Service. It's the brown shirts type of thing. He's very obvious in his rallies up to his, presidency. Boys were standing in his rallies guarding. You know what I mean? They were acting as security guards. So, yeah, that's all that ICE is. In the Gestapo with own shirts, it is the SS and is going to be personal army. That's the only reason it was brought over there. These were just extra bodyguards for Vance, but it didn't go over well. But from what I understand,
Nope.
they got their ass beat by Italian police.
I saw some clips of that. I was like, that's awesome. Why are they trying to take them all over the world and terrorize everybody in other countries? I mean, everybody's terrorized enough just by watching what's going on over here. But the now they are talking about, what is it, in the midterms, with Steve Bannon saying that they're gonna surround all of our polling places and stuff like that. They're telling on themselves, because he also said, if we lose, we're going to jail. Okay. That's the point.
And we've been calling a fascist and authoritarian and autocrat. Well, guess what? There's no free and fair elections when these people come into power. And so I kind of wish there had been more to safeguard our elections when Joe Biden was in power. I think there was a couple times, if I'm unsure of that, correct me, but I thought there was one or two things that was passed to try to strengthen our elections.
No. Finish what you're saying. I'm looking it up. Was it the Voting Rights
think
Act?
that SAVE Act is passed.
Mm.
I think that the Voting Rights Act, didn't they?
Yeah, they said, let me see here. So that was 2023 though. So that's not updated. I'm on the ACLU site, but the article is like from 2023. Executive Order 14019. So he issued Executive Order 14019 promoting access to voting. So he was trying to, but like you said, I don't think it passed. Let's see. Right here. Potentially registration and voting more accessible for millions of Americans, including communities historically excluded from the political process. And in the order, Biden directed federal agencies to consider ways to expand citizens' opportunities to register to vote and to obtain information about and participate in the electoral process. So it did not go through, I don't think. So he issued it, but I think it was overturned. That was like one of the first things that Trump overturned. Yeah. So, and there's that. Like he's just destroying everything in his path. But he's not going to win. So our call to action until our next podcast. Give us a call to action, Vanessa. I think you're on mute.
Make sure you do not vote for the SAVE Act, because even though I don't think that they're going to get the vote,
I got you.
I'm going to make sure that they vote no on the SAVE Act. I don't think they have enough votes, but we don't want to be complacent. So we definitely need to get as many people calling our senators on that right now.
And leave your comments. We have a voicemail link. If y'all have any questions or statements, we'll play them on the air. Just be PG-13. Be nice. And we'll play your mail on the air and give you a response. And I would like to thank you, Vanessa, for joining me. And you're going to come again, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining. And we will see you guys on the next Seen and Heard podcast.
Wait. There's hope. What?